5 stars. 5 stars. It's f***ing Halo. It deserves 5 stars. My apologies.
I'm reading a lifeboat beacon over the next hill. We should check to see if there are any survivors.
Halo Combat Evolved is an FPS that was developed by Bungie, published by Microsoft and released on the Xbox in November of 2001. This is normally the part of the video where I provide some information on how the game performed critically and commercially, but it's Halo, so I guess that's not really required. But it does have a 97 on Metacritic and sold over 5 million copies during the original Xbox's life cycle, so hopefully that gives you some indication of the game's success. So, how do you approach this one? Well, in all honesty, when this game was randomly chosen for my next review, I almost passed on it because I felt there was nothing left to say, and far more talented people than I have reviewed this game and talked about it in great depth over the past 17 years. Oh god, I'm so old. Anyway, this game for me at least was life-changing, and without this series I may have been a very different person than I am today, but that's for another video I guess. So, here is my attempt at an objective review of Halo Combat Evolved. Spoiler, it's probably going to get 5 stars. Halo takes place in the far-flung future of 2552 and opens right into the action as the military spaceship known as the Pillar of Autumn is fleeing an attack from the collective of alien races known as the Covenant after one of the human colonies on the fictional planet of Reach has been completely destroyed. While on the run, this ship discovers a ring-shaped world named Halo. As their ship is under attack and things aren't looking too great, the captain of the ship, Commander Keyes, decides that it's time to crack open their secret weapon and awaken their super soldier known as the Master Chief. The Chief is awakened to help fend off the alien threat and safeguard the ship's AI, Cortana, as Keyes decides to go down with the ship, crash landing it on the ring world and diverting attention away from the escape pods. Chief and Cortana manage to get off of the ship in the last escape pod, crash onto Halo, and here is where our game really begins, with you and a bunch of Earth's military stranded on a weird new planet, searching for survivors, searching for answers on what this Halo structure is, and searching for a way home. While Master Chief for the most part is a silent protagonist, this is an incredibly cinematic game and treats the story as if it were a Hollywood blockbuster that is well worth seeing out to the end. As far as narratives go, this one is pretty original. Discovering more about the planet and the intentions of the Covenant is pretty interesting, and there are some decent twists in the second half of the story that create some drastic changes to gameplay.
If I still had fingers, they'd be crossed.
Although I could pretty much explain the gameplay by simply saying that it's Halo, for the 2% of the population that may be unaware, this is a first-person shooter, and some would argue that it is the first-person shooter. By today's standards, Halo Combat Evolved would seem somewhat basic. However, you have to keep in mind that as far as modern FPSs go, this game sort of set the standard. The game is broken up into 10 missions of running and gunning, with the occasional vehicle section thrown in for variety. The majority of your experience will be spent both in corridors and more open spaces, getting the full use out of pistols, assault and sniper rifles, shotguns, rocket launchers, and a host of alien weaponry. The shooting feels fantastic, and due to precise controls and great sound design, you really do feel like you're operating something powerful. And although some weapons are more useful than others, there is a smoothness to the shooting that wasn't seen very often in the years surrounding Halo's release. Combat is dynamic, and enemies are quite intelligent and react very well to your attacks. If you throw a grenade, they'll dive out of the way. If they're close to death, they'll attempt to take cover, and if you manage to take down the leader of a group of enemies, the rest will tend to scatter and run out of fear. The enemy AI goes such a long way in making every encounter feel unique, and requires you to stay on your toes. The different enemy types and their individual behaviours cause you to approach each situation differently, and it presents a worthy challenge even for a super soldier. Sprinkled in throughout the campaign are moments where the game offers you a vehicle such as a 4x4 known as the Warthog, a tank known as the Scorpion, along with other alien vehicles such as the Ghost, which is basically a hoverbike, and a Banshee, which is a one-man aircraft. Vehicles can be clunky to use, and the game's inconsistent physics can make things a tad frustrating or humorous depending on your mood, but they're all fun to operate and create a nice break from the usual combat. That pretty much sums up the moment-to-moment Halo experience. It's all on foot or in vehicle action, with a good amount of memorable set pieces mixed in to keep things lively, and at the time, this was all groundbreaking stuff as far as console first-person shooters are concerned. For a game released in 2001, Halo Combat Evolved is a technical marvel. When running through corridors, there is a nice sharpness to the structures and exceptional lighting effects that still hold up today. In the open areas, there is a fantastic draw distance that makes it seem like the environment's gone forever, even if you can't explore everything you see. Bungie was always known for its great skyboxes that add so much life to the world as you scan the area, and at times it feels like a work of art. While there are elements that show their age, while playing this game the visuals still hold up well enough that you don't feel like you're playing a game that's almost 20 years old. Cutscenes are also directed with a nice dramatic flair, and you get the impression that Bungie really cared about every shot as they opt for the most cinematic angle possible with every scene, and it goes a long way in bringing the story to life. Another addition to Halo's presentation is its score. The soundtrack is truly original and has an ancient and epic sound that always kicks in at just the right time to create tension or a sense of wonder, or just to get your heart racing. Voice acting is about on par with most games of this period. Lines are delivered well, but nothing is Oscar-worthy, although I would have to give special mention to the Covenant, as they have their own language which, when spoken, sounds pretty cool that Bungie went into such great detail.
And Cortana. Let's give our old friends a warm welcome.
I've already begun.
So, if you've made it this far, you probably know where all of this is going. I adore this game. I won't try to deny it. It was released at a very formative time in my youth and now means a tremendous amount to me. However, even as a huge fan of the series, I can still point out its flaws. For example, the frame rate can take some serious hits when things get hectic, the checkpoints at times can be rage-inducing, some of the missions massively overstay their welcome, driving some of the vehicles makes you feel like you're floating on water, they reuse some of the environments a few times, and the game has some moments of backtracking that makes you just want to rush through to the end of the mission. I could go on, but at the end of the day this is an incredibly fun game with an epic and slightly cheesy story with incredible visuals and a memorable soundtrack. In my opinion, this is the birth of the console shooter. Halo's impacts on the industry are almost immeasurable, and its effects are still seen today. Whether or not you're a fan of the series or even shooters in general, this game is a defining moment in gaming history and 1000% deserves to be part of your collection.